But I also got involved with like United Way, with even the Humane Society here in Henry County, because I wanted to serve and, even help dogs and cats too. Because the one thing I've learned, and we put some bills in, is that you can really see if animals are being abused, there might be something else going on in that family.
Yeah.
I am a man of honor, integrity, and promise. I pursue all righteousness. I love my family. I will not put my family in harm's way. There is nothing that will keep me from doing the right thing. I am an ambassador of hope and a man of discipline. I am a man worth following. I am a Tyro.
Welcome to Tyro TV. I'm Ron Tijerina.
And I'm Kathy Tijerina.
And we are so excited today with Mr. Jim, State Representative Jim Hoops, who is with us today for the next 30 minutes.
Yeah. Representative Hoops, we are beyond excited to have you here. We've been on this journey of public service with you for a very long time and are thrilled with how you represent people and the things that you do. And so I want to start with my first question is, how did you even get into public service? Like what attracted you to it?
Kathy, I always had an idea of wanting to help people and collaboration. I guess that's my term of bringing people together to solve problems. And even when I was younger, when I was in high school, I ran for student council. And then when I went to college, even though I had a full ride playing basketball, and all you had to do is make sure you went to classes, I even got involved with the student government down there and ran for a spot on the student government. And then when I was up in Canada for a couple years, just very involved with what was going on, even up there. And then came back here to Ohio and came back in Henry County. And, I was appointed as the county auditor back in 1986.
So you're good at math.
You're good at math.
It was a really interesting job, and I was that for 13 years, and then the job of state rep came open and ran for the election, and people voted for me, and then got out of it for about 15 years, and then got back into it. I asked my wife if I could get back into it, and she said, yes, go ahead. Good. She almost did it almost like, I want you out of here, and been there ever since, and have really enjoyed it. But it's just, every step was just to try to solve problems and to do good things.
Well, being a state representative and being in all those hats you've worn, having that type of mantle upon you, to knowing that your life is bigger than just you, right?
That's
right.
And
you knew how does that feel to know that and knowing you have to do something? You just can't sit on the sidelines. You got to get in the game, but you also, having that responsibility, you got to show deliverables. You got to.
Well, that's a very good point, because even back when I was in high school, being in athletics and, being tall, basketball became my game.
You can't tell how much taller you are than Ron, but you're a full foot.
But I was always aware of, I need to be careful where people see me, what I do, because you have the little ones looking around, looking at you, and I didn't want them to say, well, hey, he did something, so can I. So I tried to be very aware of that, and even in college too. And, and as I grew up, but yes, when you're in those positions, it's a responsibility. And because when you think about it, being like a state rep, you're one of 99 people out of 11 million people to be able to serve the state of Ohio. And it's a responsibility, and it's such an honor to do that.
We love that about you, that you do see it as a privilege, a responsibility, and an honor. Something Ron and I often say, if we talk about, Representative Hoops, and then they'll say, is he a career politician? And we would say, no. Like,
he's a career servant.
He is, right. Public service is what you exemplify in everything you do versus politician.
Well, when I got out of it, back in, because I got out of the political field back in 2006 and then worked for a company, AMP Ohio, which was made up of municipalities who own their own electric system. And I worked in Columbus, but I also got involved with like United Way, with even the Humane Society here in Henry County, because I wanted to serve and, even help dogs and cats too. Because the one thing I've learned, and we put some bills in, is that you can really see if animals are being abused, there might be something else going on in that family.
Yeah.
And so, it's just things like that. And you just meet a lot of interesting people along the way.
I'm Ron Tiarina.
And I'm Kathy Tiarina.
And together we have been working with tens of thousands of couples for the last 2 decades.
And we have been helping couples understand that nobody's right and nobody's wrong. They're just each seeing it from their own perspective and unable to bridge together.
So when's the last time you were in a discussion with your significant other or your spouse and you had a disagreement over something so small that turned into something so big?
So many of the couples we work with have this experience where they argue about something because they only see it from their own perspective.
So I'm looking at it from my vantage point, and guess what? Frankly, I'm only want to see it my way, because it's my way or the what? The highway.
Over time, what happens is these issues start to pile up and they create more and more distance between couples. And so now we're arguing about every small thing because we have to defend our perspective.
As we began arguing, it really was apparent whose side I was on. I wasn't on her side and she wasn't on my side. In fact, we were on opposite teams.
We became enemies, and what was more important for us was to be right than for us to actually understand each other. When couples do this, they continue to erode their relationship. What you need to do is get the issues out from between you, move them out in front of you, and remember that you're a team able to navigate through anything together by seeing all sides of the issue.
Now remember, there is nothing more important than us.
In this dynamic program that's internationally recognized, you're going to learn how to resolve conflict, how to get on the same page and listen for understanding. Couple communication, which was written by Dr. Sherrod Miller and Dr. Phyllis Miller, will actually help you be on the same team and recognize the power of resolving conflict together.
One of the greatest tools that you're going to embrace is really coming to the understanding that what you've been doing is natural, but this is learned behavior, and we're about ready to take you to a next level on how to enhance your relationship.
Now, if you're sick and tired of having all of these petty issues come between you, if you are exhausted from every time that you have interaction with your spouse, it turns into drama, then this is where you want to be. You want to sign up for couple communication. You want to take this program together, and I guarantee you that you are going to love it.
Stop telling yourself that tomorrow you're going to do better. Stop saying to yourself, tomorrow I'll find that program. Today's your opportunity to do something not only for yourself, but for all those around you.
In couple communication, you're going to learn a brand new process. This process is going to help you avoid ever fighting over petty stuff again. It's going to take you to a new level in your relationship as you learn how to listen for understanding, to clearly articulate and share from your own experience. You're going to get on the mats. You're going to have notepads. You're going to learn skills that you're going to be like, wow, if only I had known this at the beginning.
It's not too late. We are all on this journey. We are all on this continuous improvement plan. But guess what? You have to take the first step and let today be that first step for you and your significant other.
If you're ready to like each other again and be on the same team, this is the program for you. Sign up today.
Well, let's talk a little bit about family, because, you grew up, somebody mentored you. Who was that in your life that was really putting that in you and helping bring out that greatness in you to serve, to want to be more than just somebody just getting a paycheck, somebody just clocking in, clocking out, living through life?
Well, I think, just watching my dad, he was a truck driver for Ezar. And I just remember, laying in bed at night and he'd get the call like 2 a.m.
Wow.
And, that he had to go pick up a load. And the relay station was right outside of Weston on Route 6.
Wow, just outside
Right
here.
now, it's where there's a propane company there, but that's where he'd go to pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'd be on his way, and then he'd come back. And I just remember, you just felt more relaxed when he finally got home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so that and just watching my mom work, and when we were growing up, she was always there. And I think that's one thing with family is that to have that mom at home when you come home from school. I mean, that's one of
Such a difference.
there is a big difference there.
Yeah.
And so that, and plus, and then throughout my life, just watching, people like a Ronald Reagan or,
Oh, yeah.
even Jimmy Carter, even though he was in a different party, but just what he did after he was president.
Yeah. Oh,
He's-
yeah.
The things he did were, it was just amazing the things he was to accomplish.
Yeah, he made a lot of significant changes outside of
Yeah, after he was
Yeah.
president.
Yeah. So that just kind of watching people. I had, things that happened in my life that made you realize, what was important in life. I had a brother, Mike, who was a year younger than me. And when he was, he actually followed me down to college because I went to school in Louisiana.
Okay.
So you may hear me say y'all sometimes. And then I went up to Canada, so you may hear me say a, But when he was, when I was a sophomore at college and he was a freshman, he had a unknown heart problem and collapsed on the basketball court during a practice and died.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
And it just makes you realize that there's other things in life. I felt I was a Christian at the time, but I wanted to make sure. And, someday I'm looking forward to seeing him again.
Yeah.
And so you had things that happened throughout your life that really, and that's why you try it as a policymaker. You may not agree with somebody, but you take a step back and you try and find out, why are they thinking the way they are?
Yeah.
And you begin to realize that they were brought up in a different situation, maybe in a situation where they didn't have a mom or dad because of something that happened, or something happened in that person's life, and that kind of directed them in he or she in a different way because of something that happened there. And so you try to step back and really find out, okay, what's making that person think the way they are.
I imagine the saying goes, you can't see the forest because of the trees, because when you're all up in the mix of it, you can't see the whole picture. So take a step back and really, and we talked about our kids, right? We talk about our daughter. She's, one of her talents is to step back and see it. She shared with us one of her debating classes while she was at college. They put her on she said, what side do you want? She picked this side. They say, okay, now you're going to debate on the other side.
Sure.
You're taking the position of the side you're not for. And she became a very good debater.
Yes. Yeah.
But understanding both sides, both perspective. So in your career, as you've been traveling all over, you've seen a lot of things. Something you've seen that has really impacted you?
Well, I'll tell you, when I was with the team Athletes in Action, I had an opportunity. We went over and played the national Chinese team.
Really?
And so we were there for like 10 days.
That's
and
cool.
during that time,
That's so cool.
I can remember walking through the streets and my eyes locked with another Chinese person coming my way. And I said, good morning. And he said, good morning. I'm going, wait a minute. I found somebody that could speak English. And we started talking. Well, here I found out that he was a Christian, because we had to be very careful. We gave out these 4 law books that Campus Crusade had.
Yeah.
And we had to be very careful on what we did because you didn't know who was watching you.
Sure.
And found out he became a Christian because he was over in the United States, and a young lady led him to the Lord, and he gave me her phone number. And so we just kept talking.
That's crazy.
We just kept talking, and eventually I gave him a bunch of stuff, that he could use. And we did it like at night. I mean, in fact, the first time he rode by me, and just to make sure no one was following him. And then I gave him but this was back in the 80s. I mean, it's not as, you kind of had to watch it. That was back when it was all bicycles there. Now it's all cars. Well, what really was amazing is I came back home And I called that girl, and she said, unbelievable. I've been praying for that guy for like the last 6 months, wondering whatever happened to him.
Wow.
And
I
then
got
we,
goosebumps.
and then we,
That's
you know,
so crazy.
I wrote a few letters to him, and then just, you know, everything stopped. So I don't know,
Yeah.
you know, so hopefully someday we'll meet again. But that was
Yeah.
just out of a billion some people.
Yeah.
And,
To-
you know, just to meet him
that ordained
that
moment.
way. So you know, you have things like that again that just makes you think that, you know, there's a bigger power out there that's kind of watching.
Yeah.
And that's why I always, you know, when something happens in my life or you pray for something, you may not get it right away, that eventually, you know, it may come back. Because when I left the political field, I never thought I would be back in it since 2006.
Wow.
You know, I thought I was done. And then all of a sudden an opportunity came up and here I am again
There
doing
you are.
this. You know, so I feel it gives me it's kind of that second chance to do things, and there must be a reason why I'm doing it again.
Well, one thing I love about you, State Representative Jim Hoops, right? Jim, is that you have never met a stranger.
Yeah.
You know, I see the way you carry yourself. You know, we've been walking together for a little while now, and you've had a huge impact on our family.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And that's, I know, you had even a part in playing in me getting out, me coming home to live the American dream.
And as we watch you be consistent, it's like what you would do for us, you would do for our neighbor, you would do for the people in the next town, you would do, and that is just saying, okay, how can I help? How can I make the world a better place? What can I do? And so it kind of, as we watch you and think about that's how you've lived your life in serving other people.
But I'm not perfect. 'Cause
You're
there's
not perfect.
times that-
Absolutely. You're not perfect. And we don't think you're perfect. You know, there is only one perfect.
Yep.
And I like that too, that your transparency of, you know what, I made a mistake. Your willingness to listen and say, oop, well, I never thought of it that way. Now I see something different. I like that. We like human beings that are transparent. What do you want to accomplish? So if you think about, you know, I know you talked about what might be next for you. And so if you want to talk about that would be great. And if you're not ready to talk about that, that's okay. But what do you, if you think about, wow, you know, if I could do this, what would this be?
I think it, you know, to continue in the legislature, but I guess is, you know, like when I was county auditor, I always tried to provide a platform in the auditor's office where my employees could do their job. You know, so make sure they had whether it was the materials or you know, if they needed training in something, you know, so that they could be the best that they want to be.
Yeah.
And I guess as we look at policies, you know, down in Columbus, you know, to do things where, you know, people, it's just not given to them, but they earned it so that they really
Appreciate
it. Because when you appreciate something more, it's usually, you know, it takes care of it, and it lasts a lot longer.
Yep.
And they also feel better about themselves too.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, when you can get people to get a job, I think, you know, the mental health issues, a lot of that will go away, because it's when you see somebody who loses a job, you know, and they're supposed to be providing for their family.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really tough. So I mean, that's what I want to continue to do, is to kind of bring groups together and figure out what is the best for Ohio. Because I really believe, you know, when you see what's happening on the East Coast, on the West Coast, in the South, with all the storms, with everything going on, and we have the water with the Great Lakes. We have our location. I mean, I think Ohio is primed to do some big things.
Oh, I agree.
And so it's to prepare Ohio for that time, and working together. So that means education. You know, the public education I believe in. Now, there's certain areas of the state that I feel need some help.
Right.
And again, it's kind of like, you know, what they're brought up in, what kind of atmosphere.
Yeah.
But I think around here we have a great public education system. But I also believe in choice too. If parents want to, And I feel it's up to the public education to provide, and so that when parents want to look around, they'll say, hey, this is where I want to go, whether it's PH or Holgate or Napoleon or Archibald or Bryan, because it's a good system. And we have, so it's just kind of providing that atmosphere where people can
thrive.
Build, can thrive.
Dear son, it's been hard these last few years, watching you grow up without me in the picture. Never taking the time to find out how you were or what was going on in your life. You're just a boy, I thought. You don't need me. I didn't need my dad. He was never around, I told myself. But I was wrong, son. I'm supposed to be a grown man. I was selfish. I was stupid. I was thinking of me, not you. If I could go back, son, and change things, I would. It's taken me all this time being selfish to finally grow up and realize I need to be a responsible man. That's what I finally learned, not from prison, but the Tyro program. It's all about becoming a better, stronger man. Wish I would have gotten it sooner. Everything looks different to me now. I'm a changed person. I know I need to be there for you now. It's not about me anymore. It's not about being cool. It's not about who I run with. It's about mom. It's about you. It's about being a better man, learning something new in my life. It's about being a Tyro, a man worth following. I'm your dad. You're my son, and I love you. I am a Tyro. I'm a Tyro. Dad.
If you think you have what it takes to be a Tyro or just want to know more, contact your local Ridge Project facilitator or your caseworker.
So let me ask you this. So, we work with a lot of currently incarcerated low-income families in the state of Ohio. So how would you want to help those who are coming home from prison, the families that have loved ones in prison? How do you look at that?
Well, I think it's really important that we look at that area because, as you're well aware of, you see the help wanted signs up everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to make sure that they have that second chance, but they have to want it too.
Right.
It's not one of those things where you're just going to give it to them. You have to earn it, because if you can get them to feel that way, they're just going to feel better about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they go to their family, they feel more confident.
Yep.
And they don't do some things that probably got them in there to begin with, because it was probably something that happened way back that they got in with the wrong crowd and things like that. So it's doing programs that allow them to thrive and to admit that, hey, I made a mistake. Mm-hmm. It's nobody's fault but my own.
Yeah.
And I know there's going to be people around me to support me. And so it's how do we get those programs into the state? And there's some already. And then also being able to kind of to expunge or, get rid of things so it's not on their record to hurt them later. So those are some of the things we're looking at too.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
That's
I think Ohio is honestly a great place to live. I love all of the opportunities to work with people that maybe up to this point have had generational cycles of incarceration or poverty.
Sure.
And there is, for people that want something different, lots of opportunity. And I also love the idea of collaborative approaches. It's like, okay, so we know what we're really good at, but we can't solve every problem.
Right.
So we're a piece of the puzzle here. And then there's another, piece here and piece there and piece there. But also that personal responsibility is huge. Because I know, like for us, when our lives began to change is when I woke up and was like, yeah, I'm not owed anything. Like if I want something different and I'm looking at my boys and thinking, if I want something different for these kids, I have to start doing something different. Mm-hmm. I can't wait for my neighbors or the welfare office or the state representatives or the governor to come save me, right? I have to save myself.
Well, and that's one of the big issues that will be coming up in the Medicaid area, where, before the last administration came in, we passed something where it was Medicaid to work, where you had to work if you were able to. Now, there's some that can't.
Right,
but
disabled.
There's a lot of people out there, and I'm sure you know some people going, you need to work because, and try to get them to realize if they start doing that and they make a living, that they're gonna eventually feel better for themselves.
The joy comes in hard work.
And so that's, and we're looking at doing that again because you have to submit a rider or something to the federal government, and I know, the Trump is going to allow that to happen again.
Right. Yeah.
And so, but you'd be surprised. People are going, well, there's going to be thousands of people that won't receive their Medicaid benefits. And, instead of thinking, how can we prepare these people, for a job?
I'm so grateful that people are fighting for that.
We used to be on food stamps way back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And
there's a need, and there's a reason for those.
And so it's the government's job. And when I teach this, and we tell the government's job is to help you when you need help. But that's not their job to get you off that exit ramp. They're not going to show you the exit ramp. No. That's not their job. Their job is, you're on the highway now of food stamps, of government assistance and all that. But it's your job to see an exit ramp and then figure out how do you take it.
Because it should be an event and not a lifestyle.
That's right.
I mean, I would have been homeless and starving and my kids on the street had we not had programs in place to help us when Ron went to prison. Yeah. But then I had people around me that were saying, because I'd say, oh my gosh, I'm stretching out this $429 a month, right, of cash assistance, and then the $100 and whatever in food stamps. And I said, this is awful. And they're like, yeah, because it's not meant to be lifestyle. And people are like, okay, how can we help you? How can we help you? Can we watch the kids when you go back to school? If I didn't have those supports that encouraged me that I could do it, I don't know if I would have, because that was such a, it's easy to become a victim and say, oh no, poor me, a single mom in society, and because I also had other people saying, nobody expects you to, be successful.
Well, and that's one thing, Ron and Kathy, that I've always watched, because I've been watching, when I first met you, when, the lady from Bryan.
Judy
Van Wagner.
Judy, I mean, we met over at the restaurant in Napoleon.
The Pepper Mill.
And the Pepper Mills. And just,
that's when I first met you. That was the very first time I met you. Yeah.
No, I met
before you. Met. We were talking.
Okay.
We were
you were
talking
still in
before.
Prison.
Oh.
Yeah.
And, because you always wonder, okay, what's the real story here? I mean, no, you do.
What are they really doing? Yeah.
Sure. But I knew Judy from other things, so that helped, but I had never met you. And, when you have people come to you, that's when I took that step back and go, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then we were able to work things happen.
Yeah.
And and now I'm just kind of watching, 25 years, 19 years later, what is happening there.
Yeah.
And
are they really
it's just amazing because the story, the testimony that you guys can share, I mean, no one's going to say, well, you don't know how I feel. Well,
right.
You guys have done things that how people feel and what they've had to deal with because of the lives that you've lived. And that doesn't mean you're perfect.
No,
that doesn't mean you've had your
disagreements.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, bring my wife in here, bring my wife in, and she'll just go, So, but it's just amazing what you have been able to do as a couple, as individuals and as a couple, and with your whole family, and the impact you've had on other people. And who knows? So,
but back to there's no such thing as never a one-man show. No such thing as success all by yourself.
We all start somewhere, with questions, doubts, and the unknown. But growth begins when you take that first step, when you seek the right guidance. Through insights, self-reflection, and real-world experience, you will build the skills necessary to become someone worth following. It's about overcoming your past and embracing the person you're destined to become. Growth begins with you. Empower your future with Tyro.
When you think about things that are within your power, so those are kind of the easy things. I think about that for me. Like these things are within my power, and I know I can do this, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you manage things that are outside your power? So maybe you see something and you think, oh man, this legislation or this whatever has all these unintended consequences. And like, how do you manage that when you encounter something that isn't really in your power to change?
Mm-hmm.
You just sit back, and that's when you have a discussion with God, and you can just try to figure out, why is this happening? I mean, it's just what happened a couple days ago with that airplane accident. I mean, you just
horrible.
You just wonder, or you hear of things that happened the last couple of years with individuals with just tragic. And you just sit back and you and sometimes I don't have an answer for it.
Yeah.
And that's where you just kind of like, what happened to my brother? I really don't know. I mean, that'll be a question I'll ask when I get up to heaven.
Yeah.
But you just kind of move forward because, I guess in the situation where, as an individual, because it's tougher, with being a Christian out there, but that's where you yourself can continue to grow closer based on your actions. And don't worry about other people's actions, and don't worry about what's going on out there, but just make sure that you have your life in the right frame of mind, and that you can move on, because you just don't know. It's like meeting that guy. I had no idea of meeting him in China, and then be able to
you weren't
get
even
the word
looking
back.
for it.
And that's what's amazing, the things that you're not even looking for.
The opportunities.
Like coming back to the legislature. I never thought I'd be doing that again. I mean, you just wonder what's going to happen
What's
next.
the story?
And I guess there's just a lot of stuff that goes on in a person's life that you just kind of like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then 10 years later, you go, aha.
Yeah.
Now I know why he did what he did.
I know we're running out of time, Jim, but I do want to ask one more thing. We talked about the government's there to help, but it's our job to really find that American dream.
Yes.
Because it's for everybody.
Yep.
When you're willing to put in that hard work, when you're willing to take the knots on the head, you fail fast. We say that, failure is not fatal, nor is it final.
Yeah.
And so if you could give a bit of advice to the men and women who are watching this show, Tyro TV, and if you could tell them something that will empower them, impact them to not give up, and to, life is tough for everybody.
Yeah.
And
I
if
think
you could look in that camera right there.
I guess what I'd like to say is, first of all, and I see this every year, every additional year that I live, that life is short. And the other thing I've learned over the years is life can be unpredictable, because you just don't know what's going to happen from day to day. But if you keep focused on, what the main goal is in our life, and I guess I look at what we do here on Earth compared to what it's going to be like after we leave Earth. I mean, that's forever. And I guess I look at, that it's like Billy Graham used to say that he's never seen a U-Haul following a hearse. So look at, the things that you accomplish here on Earth that you can take with you. And I guess that's just what I want to say, because it can be very exciting. And you're going to have those days where they're challenging, but just take a step back and ask, okay, what is he trying to teach me here? And I mean, God, what is he trying to teach? And I think you'll become very successful and very satisfied. And when you take a look back on your life, you're going to be happy.
Great word.
Yeah, great advice.
Word.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we want to thank you so much for joining us, Jim. It's
Yes.
always a
Thank you
pleasure
for
to
the
catch
invite.
up with
Yes,
you.
yes.
To
Thank
see you
you.
again. Looking forward to continuing serving the public together,
Yes.
hopefully for years and years to come.
So once again, thank you so much for letting us be part of your journey. And until next time, always remember that we are rooting for you.